at all times to keep myself physically strong,
ScoutCast
mentally
LA.
alert, and morally straight.
ScoutCast LA.
I am with David Wood and Sam Deffenbaugh. I got that correct.
That
right?
was perfect.
That was perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Brilliant.
the next one I'm gonna mess up. We are at the offices of Eventene.
Yeah, Eventene. Eventene.
Like okay,
Yeah,
so
like events.
Eventene.
Yeah, Eventene.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the word event with E-N-E. Eventene.
So now, Eventene is a Scout organizational platform that you've developed. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Although I'll just quickly say that it's not just specifically for scouting, but it's very, very highly applicable to scouting events.
So let's a little bit closer to your mouth. That'd be good. So before we go into exactly what that is, I want to know who are you? Like, why? What? Tell me your background and how you got involved in scouting and what you do.
Okay, I'm David Wood. I have been an assistant scoutmaster for 10 years now on the west side of LA. And
That's a long time.
Yeah, 10 years. That's right. Yeah. So my son started 10 years ago as a fifth grader and went through the program and became an Eagle Scout about 5 years after that. And then he went on and just went into high school, and now he's in college. And I just was very involved in scouting and remained in scouting, and mostly just to help out. And also I became very friendly with the dad. So it's actually been a great organization. So besides getting involved as an assistant scoutmaster, I'm also involved at the council level. So I'm on the board, the executive board there, and I was involved with marketing and membership, and so now I'm helping out in other areas.
So now, what is your background professionally outside of scouting?
Originally software development. So I was a software developer and a software designer at Microsoft up in Seattle. So I worked on Word and Excel. I was one of the early designers of Exchange Server, which was the email software program. And so I've always been around productivity apps and building and designing them. Then I was in management consulting for a number of years. And about 5 years ago, I decided that I was looking for a new project. And I decided, you know what, there's something that has always bugged me, that we just didn't really have very good software to manage for the scouting area.
Get out.
No, it's true. You know, spreadsheets and email, yes, they've been around a long time, and that's what most people use. But it turns out that there really is just quite a lack of good software to help organize scouting events.
Nice. And so you filled in that niche.
So I first discovered this because one of the first tasks they asked me to do when I joined that troop with my son was, hey, could you coordinate all the campouts every month? And I very naively said, oh, sure, you know. And then I realized it's the GOAT job. Nobody wants that job. It's terrible. But I sucked it up and I did it, and I actually brought some new technology and new solutions into it. So I brought in a product called SurveyMonkey, which was online surveying tools. Mm-hmm. It was brand new at the time. Nobody had heard of it. And that product's been around a long time. But anyway, that was new to them. So I just remembered how laborious the whole process was. And so 5 years later, about 5 years ago, I decided, you know what, why not come up with some kind of an application solution, event planning tool that could help out scouting troops, but also anybody else doing event planning.
Well, what's really interesting about scouting is the turnover in scouts is fairly high, and because of that, you know, they say the average leader lasts about 5 years, and because of that, you know, I think people are afraid to push and adopt something new for fear that they're only going to be around for another year or so. And so let's just go back with how it's been done for the last 30 years. And unfortunately, much of the infrastructure hasn't caught up to technology. There's so much, you know, as a Cub Master, I realize right now, and you know, Scoutbook is changing this a little bit, but I use a Google spreadsheet for my roster. I use, an email, GoDaddy email server for my, communications. And it's like I piecemeal all the tools that I need.
Yes.
In order to run my pack the way that I think it should. I think it's awesome that there are people like you who are creating platforms and that are specifically designed for doing what I want to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly the issue, which is there are just too many tools that you have to string together in order to accomplish one event, and so it can open up the opportunity for just a lot of error between these different tools where data gets out of sync and it's just confusing to go between them. So that's the issue that we wanted to solve.
So Sam, you are, what is your background? Do you have a background in scouting?
No, well, my dad was actually an Eagle Scout, and I think much to his chagrin, I didn't go that direction. My background was also not in software technology, so it may seem, or event planning for that matter. So it may seem like it was kind of a strange fit for me to be working with David on this project, but I kind of came to the revelation that, well, everything is event planning. You know, I have a background in music, and so we're constantly planning concerts, putting on shows, and we have the same problems as scouting, which is attendance, stringing together all these different tools, and lack of oversight on participants. So that's kind of how I had a background in marketing and sales, and so when David was talking to me about this product, we had a chance to meet up. I was like, well, this is perfect. You know, everyone needs this, not just people who have a background in technology or event planning or scouting or anything like that.
So what is, now that we've talked about who you guys are, what is Eventene?
Okay, so it's the product that we were describing, and we'll go into more
Yeah.
detail on exactly what it can do and specifically what it can do for the scouting troops and packs. But Eventene is a company that I formed in order to productize this idea. So its sole purpose as an entity is to grow and build this application and then deliver it to the marketplace and then provide customer support and pricing models and that sort of thing. So the company's completely 100% focused on this app.
Nice. And so, and right now you are branching out to obviously not just scouting, but like you said, anything that needs event planning.
Yeah, that's right. Now, there's a great expression in marketing saying, don't try to boil the ocean. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And as Sam mentioned, events are everywhere. Every country in the world, anywhere there's a group of people are planning events. So that is the opportunity for an app like this.
I'm going to have to check those facts, but I'll get back to you on that.
All right. Well, so you can go after just about any style of event, but then if you try to do everything for everybody, then you end up doing nothing.
Absolutely.
And you don't make any traction. So we have focused on scouting and school events and that sort of thing.
So I think, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
On the flip side, I think that what we also recognize, like you were talking about with the different tools that you use, is there are a ton of event planning solutions out there, but each of them just does a little piece of it, whether it's invitations or tracking or surveys or something like that. And so while you don't want to boil the ocean, there's also the problem of being too narrowly focused. And so we wanted to solve that.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the application does and how packs and troops can best utilize it.
Yeah. So I think the best way to understand how it could work for a particular troop or pack is to understand what are the key problems that most of the troops and packs are dealing with when it comes to, say, planning a camp out or planning the court of honor or anytime there's a big group. So the first one is trying to figure out who's coming. So you want to track the attendance. And so there's the invitation process, and a lot of times a pack or troop will have a calendar for the year. But when it comes to the campouts coming up, you need to remind everybody that, hey, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're having a campout. We need to know, is your son or daughter coming on this campout? That's a really simple thing to ask.
Yeah.
Like, who's attending? And in the troop that I was involved with and continue to be involved with, there are 150 scout boys.
That's
150.
That's
it's
a
the
massive,
the largest one in Western LA. And not only that, there are 100 adult chaperones, the so-called assistant scoutmasters. So that's 250 people, not even counting any guests that might come along, every single month that has to be organized.
It's mind-numbing to me to think of just finding a location for campouts with that many people.
We tend to go back to the same ones every year for that reason. Yeah. Camp Giuseppe, for example, can accommodate us. Emerald Bay, of course, in the summer. But then there's quite a few others that we tend to go back to over and over.
And when you find it, you probably own the entire campground.
That's right. Yeah, we have to make reservations 6 months in advance, and it's hard to move the big ship around.
So I can understand with a troop that large, just the logistic challenge of trying to wrangle that many people.
That's right. So, besides the attendance question, that's the big one. Then there are lots of extra questions, and we collectively put those into the survey questions. So, can you drive a carpool? How many seats are in your carpool if you can? Can you leave from a single point of origin, or are you going to be coming from elsewhere? Who's in your car? All those extra questions. If you're coming, are you going to stay for dinner? Are you staying overnight? There's just lots of extra questions that come along with every single campout. So we have put together, so the app handles the attendance question, are you coming or not? And also, are you coming to individual parts of the event? And then also those additional survey style questions. And then the third area that it excels at is tracking all those responses and giving you analytics on who's coming, who's not coming. And it allows you to say, for the people who I've not even heard from yet, I want to send a targeted email message to all of them and ask them to please RSVP. So we handle all of that too. The app does all that automatically. We can send reminders. And then we have a mobile app that every single adult, usually we don't allow the kids to do it, but the adults have a mobile app they can download from the app stores, Eventene, and they can see their event there. They can see all the attending people. They can click on their names. They can bring up their contact details. So it's an attending roster for every single event.
And it's individualized as well. So every person's experience will be tailored to the parts of the event that they're going to. So if they say, "Oh, I can't go to this part, but I can go to this other part of the event," they're going to get an individualized schedule. So it solves that problem of having to give everyone different details as well.
So one of the things I found was really interesting that I think you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. So if I have an event, if I have a camp out in the middle of nowhere, and I have 40 people in attendance, but 10 cars going, I can through the app track who goes in which cars, and so that way if someone's not shown up, I can go, oh, well, they were in.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, I hadn't even gotten to that part, but you anticipated it nicely. Very, very good. But that's another area of the product, the assignments area. So, just to recap that, attendance, survey questions, the tracking of responses, and then finally assignments. And that is a really core, important part of the product. Yes, it allows you to assign individual passengers into cars and then disseminate that to everybody in the event so that it's easy to track who's in what car.
It's also a safety feature for an organization like Scouts.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Where is this kid?
And then also something like you need to make sure that you're YPT compliant, and you need to make sure that you can document it well. I can say, hey, look, these two kids and these two adults were in this car.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. And then it gets even better because you can see the car, you can see the passengers, and then you can click on the name. And in the case of the troop that we built this event for, it brings up their parents' contact information. So if there's something wrong, they can one click away, you're calling the mother or the father. And there's also the home address in there, so you can click and navigate to the home address if you're the carpool driver dropping the kid off.
And how much? I mean, I think all these features sound amazing. What's like the learning curve to?
If you're familiar with applications on your mobile phone, it's very similar to that. It's just clicking and dragging and swiping and basic gestures.
There's a learning curve, of course, because it does a lot.
Like everything.
But I think that the idea is it grows as your knowledge of the product grows. So if you just want to go in and do a really simple event, it's actually pretty easy to get started with that. Like most troops, or units have an existing roster. You just upload that in. All of your people are already there. It's easy to set up an event and get started. Then as you start to learn more about the product, you can do things like set up surveys, use assignments, all of those additional features. So it's really scalable, actually.
That's Yeah, I mean, as I'm conducting this interview, I'm thinking just yesterday I got the go ahead for my pack to do a night hike into parkland, and then once we hike in, there'll be a movie in the middle of nowhere, and then a night hike out. And like just yesterday, I got the go ahead from the Parks Department to put this together, and so now I'm thinking of the logistics that I need to do just to organize this event that's taking place in a month.
Yep. So you could put all of those details, including the itinerary and any notes, links to the I don't know, the location of where you're going to be. Maybe they have a website, so you can link to that. You might have additional PDF files that you want to include. Maps, topo maps are a really good example. You can have links to all of those in the mobile app. So in one place, you've got it all.
Maybe we'll have to talk about this as soon as this microphone turns off. So, well, that's super exciting. Now, I'm curious with something like ScoutBook that is just opened up. Are there places where the two overlap, or do you think that they are great companions with one another?
Yeah, definitely companion and complementary to each other. So ScoutBook was really envisioned, and it was implemented as a Scout as a unit management software. So troop management, pack management. So its strengths are really around attendance at regular troop meetings, maintaining the official roster, maintaining advancement details, so what merit badges has the child earned, and community service hours, that sort of thing. All the management of the trooper pack. There is an event component in it, but it's fairly simplistic. It's are you going or not, and that's kind of it. It's a little bit like the Evite service, where come to my dinner party, yes or no, with a pretty invitation. That's the extent of Evite. It's still very useful, of course, but it doesn't have a lot of depth. Whereas Eventene then complements ScoutBook by becoming the bigger event planning tool. So there is not a direct integration, but it would be easy to export your roster from ScoutBook, import it into Eventene, and then be able to invite the same people over and over to every single monthly camp out.
Yeah, and that's so it will be. I'm just making sure that there is a way to integrate the two.
Yes, you can export your roster from ScoutBook as a CSV file and import it into Eventene. So then you would have all the same roster. So it's two different lists that you need to maintain. Eventually, hopefully, we'll have some way to sync up those databases.
Yeah.
But for now, it's you maintain it. But at least it's slow-moving data.
Yeah.
So somebody's email doesn't change that often, that kind of thing. And their names obviously don't ever change.
And that is the end goal, to make sure that you can sync directly with ScoutBook, and it'll all just be one source of record. But I mean, comparing to using email, Excel, SurveyMonkey, updating this information in two places is much easier.
Oh, I have a Wix website for my pack, and then if I do events right now, they do a Wix Evite that emails me separately and keeps that on a different base.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot of information to keep track of.
There's so much work just in organizing the events before you even get to the point where you're putting on the events.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, I like how Sam puts it. When we talk about marketing the product and how easy it is to use, it's get back to enjoying your event, because the person who's doing the transportation and the event coordination is usually the one who's having the least fun.
Right, and I mean, I think that a lot of parents sign up to work with their scout troop because it's rewarding and they want to enjoy it. They want to have fun with their child. So the fact that they would be kind of just bogged down in all these details of event planning might ruin the experience. And so we would really like people to be freed up to go back to enjoying the stuff that they're putting on.
And that's exactly what's happening. Once there's a little bit of overhead to set up the roster and get the event set up, but then it's easy to repeat. You just copy the whole event, copy it to a new one, change the date, and the same people are ready to go. You just invite them. And so now the software is doing the heavy lifting and keeping track of all the little details.
So I think once you set it up once, then it's easy to. So now, if someone was interested in the software, where would they go?
So to create a new account, new users would go to eventene.com. So Eventene, EVENTENE.com. And then it's easy to sign up for a free account there. And you're signing up as the organizer. That's where you create the events from a website. You could also do it on your mobile phone from that website, but because it's a very mobile-friendly service. But
it's always easier to do things.
Easier to do it on a big desktop. So yes, that's where you would set up your event. And we'll get into the pricing later, but there is a free tier as well for smaller troops. And so you import your roster, you set up your event, you set up the timings of them, and then you invite the people, and then that's really the process to get started.
Well, since we brought up, what is if you've got a small troop or a large troop, what is the price difference?
Okay, so I should start out by saying we've priced Eventene to be very, very good value. It's what we call a freemium model. So there's a free tier, and with a free tier, you have some product limits, but there's still a lot of value there. You can have up to 25 people in your roster, in your list of people. So you can invite 25 people to a single event, and then you can have up to 3 events. So when you want to get to the 4th event, then you just delete one of your previous events. And so you can never have more than 3 events at one time. But so that's the other thing about the free tier is that it doesn't allow you to do those survey questions I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask the attending question, and you can have up to 3 activities in an event. So it's for smaller events and for 25 people. That's the free tier. The next tier is $10 a month, and that allows you to go up to 100 people and have 6 activities in an event. So that should cover really all troops.
Yeah, except for the weird giant ones.
Yeah, the giant ones are going to need the next tier up, which is 25 a month, and that gives you up to 1,000 people. So that's the one that large troop I mentioned is using.
But you can also use this for weddings. You can use this for, any type of large event.
Yeah, that's right. Weddings, it works really well for. You can have the rehearsal dinner the Friday night before. You can have the actual wedding. You can have different subgroups of people invited to different parts of the event. So the whole event could be, John and Mary's wedding, and then you have 10 moving parts of the wedding, and each one of those activities.
The people we like are also invited to this event.
Yeah. There's a reception, and not everybody's going to the reception. It's like
the crazy aunt and her friends,
or the post reception.
Yes,
Aunt Susan has a different location here. That's very strange.
And remember, Sam mentioned that if they have their own mobile app, they're not going to see the post reception.
Yes. Oh, that's really good. Like, where's everybody going? Nowhere, crazy aunt.
Yeah. We'll see you for Sunday brunch.
Well, no, I'm also, as someone who's also organizing our council's or our district's recognition dinner.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, is this something that I could use for that too? So so I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So one thing that should be. Well, we should probably point this out, is that this is for private and closed events, meaning you have a roster of known people that you're inviting. It's not like Eventbrite where you send out a link and anybody could join or buy a ticket.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we might eventually do that style of event, but for now, this is really great for community organizations like Scouting.
Yeah. Now, I've one of the things that I wanted to mention, but I haven't been able to figure out where to put it in elegantly, is that you are also, or I don't know if it's Eventene, is also the one, you've supplied all of the Eagle Scout in Progress flags for our council.
Yeah, so we've been working with the council at a marketing level to say they want to support us because they see the value in scouting, and then we want to support them in that we as a company have sponsored the Eagles as an Eagle Project in Progress, I think. Yeah. So
if you don't know what we're talking about, if you go to the council office, right outside the front door, there is a sign that's stuck in the dirt that says Eagle Project in Process. And so you've made those available so that when Eagle Scouts are doing their projects, they can post those so people know what's going on.
Yeah, and not only that, actually, we have a number of Eagle Scouts or soon-to-be Eagle Scouts who are using Eventene to plan their projects, which is very cool because we're getting all these photos and things of kids who are like, hey, this is how I got all my friends, to the construction site where I'm working on this.
Yeah.
And then it's just really cool to see how it gives back both to the community, to the kid, and then to the troop. Yeah,
it was a nice tie-in. Yeah, we were able to subsidize the signs so that they could be seen around the community, and then also as Sam mentioned, the Eagle Scout or the prospective Eagle Scout, the Live Scout, can use the product, can use the app to help organize it.
Oh, that's really cool. I wouldn't have even thought about that, but of course, that would be a great application.
And the free tier, of course. It's a small,
a great application for this application. See how I just used the same word in 2 different ways? That's just how witty and awesome I am. Well, thank you for telling me about the product. Now, I just
Sure.
wanted to say, you mentioned that if people are interested
Yeah.
in your product, that they can get a discount.
We're happy to give them a discount. We built this for scouting units, and this is what it's all about. So if you're a pack or a troop out there and are wanting to give this a try, so you would visit Eventene.com, EVENTENE.com, and then when you sign up for any of the paid tiers. So there's a freemium, you can sign up for that and just with no question, just get an account. But if you want to try one of the paid tiers, here's a discount code, ScoutCast LA. Type that all in with all uppercase, all caps. ScoutCast
All
LA.
caps, one word.
All
So-
caps, one word.
ScoutCast LA.
ScoutCast LA. So enter that when asked for the discount code. You can add that. You hit apply, and you should see the value drop. And what was the discount?
I think we're going to do 20% for 3 months or so.
Okay, 20% off for 3 months.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. And
$8 a month.
there you go. All
See
right.
how I did all that math?
Practically nothing.
Well, especially when you've got if you've got 100 kids in your, scouts in your troop,
Yeah.
$8 a month amortized over 100 kids is not,
Yeah.
it's like 8 cents a piece.
Right? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. And the discount code applies to any of the tiers too. So it could be 20% off of the $10 a month, 25, and then the 50 is
I only do the
highest.
math for the 20% off $10 a month.
right.
The other
All
ones
right.
are going to get too
Very
complicated.
good.
Well, thank you. Now, we are also going to do a demonstration where you're going to help me sort of organize a little event, and we're going to record that separately. So that if you want to listen to that, stay tuned. But thank you. I just want to thank you both, David and Sam, for coming on ScoutCast LA.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So this is the part where we're going to do a live demonstration of the Eventene application. And so the reason we do this, we're doing this a little bit separate. And if you're listening to the podcast, there is also going to be a video streaming of this available at ScoutCast LA. So if you go to ScoutCast LA right now, you can actually follow along on the desktop or on the computer what we're doing as we're talking about it. So, okay, Dave, Sam.
All right. So what we're looking at here is the dashboard of an account. So this is a demo account. So there's showing that there's 17 events and 27 lists. And the major paradigm of the app is that an event is like a file. You open it up and it has all the details of the event. And then the lists are separate. Those are the lists of people, the groups of people, and the sections that contain places that you're going to assign people into. So those are kept separately. That way you can reuse the lists over and over in your events. Okay, so let's take a look at a sample event. We're going to bring up this annual dinner banquet. This is a good example. And this is actually the sample.
And this could be like a court of honor or,
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And the reason we're showing you this one first is because anytime you create an account in Eventene, this is the sample event that appears in your account.
Oh, got it.
Exactly this one. So we'll just kind of walk through it. Yes, but this could represent a court of honor. It could even represent a weekly troop meeting if you wanted to do that. Okay, so the first thing we're seeing on this is essentially the summary of the event. So at a glance, we can see who has responded. And in this case, we can see that 12 people have said they're coming. 3 have said no, and we have not yet heard from 9 people. And then we can also see the 24 people there. That just tells us how many people have been invited to the event, and that there are 12 places, meaning these are places that you can assign people into.
Okay,
And
like
we'll show-
tables.
Yeah, like tables. So we'll show you how that works. And there are 3 activities that make up this event. So let's go ahead and click on the activities, and you can see how we break it down. Now you can think of activities as a list making up the itinerary of your event, but your actual itinerary may be more detailed than this. But think of this as these are the levels at which you will assign different groups and subgroups of people to invite them to different areas of the event. Okay, so in this case, we have a dinner banquet, which consists of 3 activities: a social gathering at 6 p.m., followed by a sit-down dinner at 7:30, and then followed by, after that, we have an activity where you can take tours, and we will explore Santa Monica Pier. And so this particular event is one in such that we might want to ask every single person who's said they are coming to the dinner if they would like to also do the Exploring Santa Monica Pier. And so you can ask that separately if you want.
Uh-huh.
And right now, you can see under the attendance column, it's showing how that each activity is linked. And what that means is that it's linked to the overall decision whether you're coming to the event. But if you click on the activity, you can see that, and we go under attendance, you can actually change that to ask if attending for this one particular activity.
Uh-huh.
And then when they are RSVPing, they'll get a separate question. Will you be attending the Exploring Santa Monica Pier?
When you turn your head to me, make sure you bring your mic too.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay. All right. So now let's go into the tracking area. So in this case, we have already sent out the invitations, and now we're tracking to see who has responded. So we can see that there are 12 yeses, 3 nos, and if I click on the yes, for example, under attendance, it brings out a side panel showing me all the people.
Everybody that said yes.
Yeah. And then I can close that. If I want more detailed information, I can click on the individual mode, which brings up what looks like a spreadsheet. It kind of acts like a spreadsheet, but we're in a database now. So you get the advantages of a database. So if you click on one of these, you can bring up the details on the right. You can even open up somebody's survey. So if somebody were to go ahead and, let's open that up. If somebody were to verbally tell you they were coming, you could go in and open their survey as if you were them and answer for them. When you're done taking the survey, you can also add the event to your personal calendar. There's a few things you can do. Or you can also go over to the details tab and look at, you can see where the location is. You can navigate there, and you see all of the notes that the organizer has given you. Okay, so back to the
And
app.
I think that's great that if someone doesn't actually use the app, but they still tell you, because I will get evites to something, and I'm like, yeah, I'm coming, but I never respond to the evite.
That's right.
Because I'm a horrible person. This still gives you the option of correcting for that.
Well, it turns out that most events have horrible people in them. No, I'm just kidding. No. So in this case, yes, if somebody. Oh, and I should also mention that we have removed as much friction as possible to ease and support the RSVP process, the responses. And so when the recipients, the participants of the event receive an email, it's just a single link. They click on it. It launches a web browser that works easily in a mobile device or a full desktop, and they can do it anywhere in the world. And it just takes a few clicks to respond.
Nice.
Okay, so back to the event, and now we're tracking. Notice how you can see first name, last name, a list. If we click on a single activity like social gathering or dinner banquet, let's look at the dinner banquet. You can see how there's a meal choice there, and they could tell you that they're vegetarian, chicken, or seafood. That just happened to be one of the questions we were asking them. If they're going to have dinner, what would be their entree? So that's a very typical scenario. And you could go in and edit this directly if they told you after you cut off the survey that you could go in and change that if you wanted to. But let's say now you want to make a nice report out of this. You can easily grab the information and put it on the clipboard under actions there. You can say copy the whole thing to the clipboard, or you can export it as a CSV file, and you immediately have all your data.
Got it.
So we make it very easy to get the data out of the system. Let's look at one more example event. If we go back to events, let's take a look at a camp out to Angeles Forest. Now, this might be a little more applicable to scout troops and packs.
Although I think the last one was, because I could think of 3 or 4 different events that my pack would do that last one would have fit.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay, so this one, let's say, represents a monthly camp out that a trooper pack might go to. And let's click into the activities, and you can see that if we look at the list of activities for this particular event, you can see now it's a much more complicated event. There are a lot more moving parts. So back at the dinner party, you can have an event that has a single activity, meaning dinner, or the meeting. But this one, you notice how it also spans 2 days. It starts on a Saturday, and then it ends on a Sunday. And you start off with who's who's coming. So you have an attendance roster, and then you have the drive to camp out, which if you look closely, you can see you have a list of people, which in this case are the passengers, and then you have a set of drivers.
Yeah.
So here's an area. So that drivers list is maintained in the list area we talked about earlier, and they represent all of the carpools. And then once you're done deciding if everybody's responded and they've said, okay, these scouts are coming and these drivers are driving, now it's time to assign them. And okay, we're looking at a list right here, and we can look at the items, so we can see, actual drivers. We can see what the name of their vehicle is,
and how many seats it holds.
And if you click on the layout, you can notice how you can add any number of custom fields that you want to capture things that might be useful. In this case, drivers, maybe the name of their car, how many seats they are, the year of their car. Mm-hmm. The color might be helpful.
If you've got a bunch of Honda Priuses, if you've got a bunch of Toyota Priuses, it would be nice to know, it's the blue one
That's right.
is hers. Yeah. And
that's right. And it's up to you as the organizer to add as many fields as you want. And then going back to the event, let's do an assignment, for example. If we go well, you know what? Let's go back to the dinner party assignment. I think we've got a better setup for that one. So let's just take a quick look. But if we go into assignment and we do dinner banquet, okay. So this one shows that you have tables, and you are now. This is a very common scenario: who's sitting with whom at what table. Mm-hmm. So in this case, we created a section list, or a list of places, and we call them tables. Tables 1, 2, all the way up to, I don't know, you can have 100, and you can add as many seats as you want for each table, and then you just drag people in and put them into the table. Now, likewise, if it's a carpool, these boxes, these places represent cars, and you would then just move the passengers into the car.
Now, if I was going to this event and I had the app on my phone, could I go, oh, who am I sitting at a table with?
Absolutely, yeah. That's if we.
Crazy Aunt Edna.
I know. They can do it either of two ways. That web form that they initially did the response from also becomes their personalized view into the event. So it has the details, it has the questions, and the third part, it has the assignments. So you click on the assignments, and it would show you who you're sitting with. Now, in this case, it says no assignments because we haven't actually made an assignment yet. But this is where you would see the information. Mm-hmm. And then, likewise, in the mobile app, there's a section called assignments. You click it, it shows you who are your fellow passengers and who's your driver.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, this is specific, is there a way to, like if you wanted to note, let's say, who was YPT trained? Yep. Would there be a way to do that?
Yep. You could, in the list itself, you could create a permanent field,
mm-hmm.
YPT trained, yes or no. And that way, whenever you attach that list to an event, you can always bring that up on the sheet.
Okay, great.
And you can, the other thing about your lists, if you have 100 people in your troop roster or your pack roster, you can segment that list out. You can create subgroups of people, and they are rule-based. So as people come in and change, all those subgroups change automatically. They're like smart lists. So an example of that would be you start with a roster that includes all the parents, so the mothers, the fathers, all the parents, and the scouts, the kids. You can have a subgroup of just scouts, of just fathers, just mothers, just parents.
And then you could also do subgroup of different patrols.
That's right.
Like,
different patrols.
Yeah.
And you can combine them. You could say, this is the Bruins patrol, this is the Seminoles patrol, and I would like a sublist of Bruins and the Seminoles, mm-hmm. so that I can then invite them to one particular activity.
Yeah, they are responsible for KP or something at the end, and that's their activity.
That's right.
Is cleaning up the campsite or.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, so we make it very easy to maintain, dozens of subgroups off of a main group. So that's. I know it's a little technical, but it's important to realize that's not we're not copying the data, because otherwise that would be very unwieldy if somebody's email changed.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things that once you do it once, everything will make sense for the next time you do it, and everything becomes exponentially easier.
Oh, that's right. Repeating a camp out is as simply as just copying the entire event, and starting over and sending out the same invitation.
Yeah, that's
all,
awesome.
all of that setup work is done. Yeah, let's go ahead and show creating a brand new event. So we'll just do a copying event. So in this case, we're going to copy the dinner banquet. That's a good one. Yeah, and then let's give it another.
I don't see my name on that list, by the way. I guess I wasn't invited, but whatever.
Well, we can change that pretty quickly.
Okay, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I'll take beef, by the way.
All right. I'm sorry, beef is not an option.
Oh!
Awesome dinner banquet. There we go. All right, so give it a date in the future. And let's say, it's April 6th.
I'm
Saturday.
I'm busy that day.
Notice how location, by the way. Let's change the location from the Georgian Hotel to, I don't know, call it, how about Casa del Mar? Just down the street. Hotel. Notice how it's hitting Google and automatically
and gives
puts
you a
the
map
location.
right there.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you can also preserve all previous responses, or you can clear them out. So you can start over. But sometimes it's nice to actually preserve some of them, like maybe the previous responses to survey questions, so they don't have to redo that. They can just change them.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that actually this will take GPS coordinates too. So if you're doing a camp out where there's not a fixed site, it's super useful because then they can go to the exact location.
Oh, nice.
If it's out in the middle of the woods and there's not a clear mark.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It'll handle latitude, longitude, and in fact, we had a camp out in Camp Pendleton last year, and I don't know if you know this about Camp Pendleton, but the street addresses actually aren't real.
Oh, really?
Right? So you try to navigate with your regular GPS, and you will go nowhere. I mean, it is like phantom. So if you put a latitude, longitude, though, you can drop them to the exact building they're supposed to go to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All right. So I think that's about it. Is there anything else you can think of?
No, I mean, I'm just watching this thinking, wow, it's so, the questions that I've had, there are things that I've mentioned. So
you can see it's fairly easy to use.
Yeah.
We have a full help center as well in case, and going through it the first time might take a little bit of getting used to as like where things are. But once you start learning the app, it's very easy to find your way around.
Now, if you had someone, so let's say I got invited to something, but I'm not interested in downloading the app onto my phone, that's not a hindrance.
Not a requirement at all. The mobile app is completely optional. So if you receive an invitation from somebody, it is an email. You click the link and it launches a browser. No application. There's no installation required.
And the same with like the survey at the end. I don't have to.
No, the survey is part of the web browser app.
So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. No, I think this is. I'm looking forward to trying to use this for a couple of my projects.
Excellent. Well, we'll be there to help you out.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Once again, this was David Wood and Sam Deffenbaugh from Eventene.
Thank you.